Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Native Connections National Learning Community, number 33, Strengthening a Weak Strategic Action Plan. Thank you for joining us. Can you please let us know, give us your name and write in the chat box your name and where you're coming in from? Well, I'm Sarah Pearson. I'm a subject matter expert for Native Connections, and I'm here today with Bobby Arthur. Hello, Bobby. Did you want to introduce yourself? Bobby, I think you might be on mute. Are you with, can you hear us, Bobby?
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Oh, great. Hi, everybody. Actually, he slow So I am Salt Clan, and I am born for the Tangle people. My maternal grandfathers are the Water Flows Together, and my paternal grandfathers are the Hopi tribe, the Bear Clan. And that's who I am. I'm really glad to be here. I'm glad to see everybody here. And my name is Bobby Arthur, and I'm the GTA. And I will pass it to Val, who's going to do an introduction real quick.
Hi, my name is Valerie Pingac. I'm a grantee technical assistant based in Alaska. So really excited to be here today. Are we going into the opening, Bobby, now, or waiting a few?
Valerie has kindly agreed to give us an opening for our National Learning Community. Valerie, it's up to you.
Thank you, Sarah. Well, I just want to share a prayer in my Chippewa language for today. Again, thank you all for joining us. Mi widalga, dungan demukliku, ikayoch Sheikh Loasu, then Kilga Naganam, Agayu Simni. Ayagoch Doklukisu, Damascum Dalaskami, Charlie Lower 48 Ami Loni, Chut Damaskuitat, Nun Naisu, Chaknak, Chumik Nachbagut. Asakaluta, Damaskuita, Geniksuta, Agaidum Atragun, Kuyana. Again, thank you all for joining us.
Valerie, thank you so much. I'm wondering if everyone who's joining us today could give us a reaction. Do you know where the reaction buttons are at the top of or the bottom of your screen for Zoom? I'm wondering if we can get like maybe a little applause. Oh, there we go. There's a heart. Thank you. Any other? Oh, another heart. Yay. Good. Thank you. Sometimes I wonder, I'm like, am I the only one who knows how to clap or put my thumb up? So if you see something that you like or you agree with, or maybe you don't agree with, send us a signal. So we'd love to hear from you. So today we're going to start covering a couple of things about identifying strengths and weaknesses in a strategic action plan. We're going to take you through the strategic action plan checklist that Bobby's going to do for us. Then we're going to go behind the scenes and do a scan of a what I call behind the 8 ball, kind of a weaker SAP. And we'll take a look at an example of a strong SAP. And then Bobby, Arthur, and I are going to walk you through about 12 different tips that kind of go beyond the template of the strategic action plan. So let me see if I can get this going. Bobby, you're ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Now, has anybody not seen the strategic action plan checklist? It's usually found where, Bobby? It's usually found in?
The NCRC, the Native Connections Resource Center.
And also at front page of your strategic action plan template, if you got that from your GTA. I'll turn it over to you, Bobby.
Thank you. So we're going to be looking a little bit deeper, like Sarah said. We're going to be kind of looking at the beginning, the starting point of creating your strategic action plan. And like Sarah had mentioned, that you can find your strategic action plan checklist at it's kind of like one of the first few pages of your strategic action plan. And this checklist is just kind of to make it a little bit easier as you start to develop and create your strategic action plan. It kind of helps you to gather the documents that's going to be needed when you're going to begin the the process of your development of your strategic action plan. Because when you're a little bit organized, or actually when you are organized at the beginning, when you're creating your strategic action plan, it really kind of helps with the whole process and the flow of creating, and it kind of keeps you on track. There's things that you'll be informed of what was maybe previously on a previous document, that you might want to have it incorporated onto your strategic action plan. So it's a really great way, this checklist is a really great way to kind of make sure that you have all your documents. So as you complete it, everything will be there, and it helps to keep you on track and on task.
Exactly. It's all those key points of the journey along the way. That is your data collected.
Right.
What data? Your data from the CRM, your data from the CRM score, the 2 to 3 lowest scoring dimensions that came out of the community readiness model assessment. Did you collect the data from your community systems analysis? Check. Did you do a needs assessment? Yes, we
Right.
did. Check. These are all the things that inform your strategic action plan. Do you have your advisory group board assembled? Check. Here are the key elements of a strategic action plan. Vision, that's the most important piece. That starts the whole journey. Have you selected your goals? Your objectives, are they SMART? Your activities, are they prescribed? Outcomes,
Right.
people, timeline, and what's that last consideration? Not to forget that the strategic action plan is viewed as a working document. And what does that mean, Bobby?
What it means is that this document is going to constantly be changing throughout your grant. You'll be adding new things, or maybe there was something you did the previous year that you maybe didn't quite finish, or maybe you hadn't really started, so you want to pull that over and put it on the next year. So it's something that it's a live document, meaning that it's always going to be changing. It's always going to be growing. The more your program grows, that a strategic action plan will probably grow as well.
And it's always in draft form, because you're going to come back to it and update it all the time. So I wanted to give an example of what a weak strategic action plan looks like. And let's take a close look at a group called the Mystified Village Center Native Connections Group. And at first, let me see, it looks like they've got a lot going on. They've just recently started. It looks like they have their data collection going pretty strong. They've started their CRM. They have chosen their 2 to 3 lowest scores from their CRM dimensions. And they've got their community systems analysis started. That's a good thing. But they haven't checked anything else. So it kind of makes me wonder. Let's see what else we have. They have team members, Seed and Do It All, Kim College, Shelley Be There, and Just in Time, the youth specialist partner. So they've got a partner from the Mystified Boys and Girls Club. That's great. They've got the behavioral health department joining them. That's good. So they've got 4 team members, which is a good start, but they have not identified their advisory board members. That's the first red flag that might go up. You don't want people to be developing the strategic action plan alone in their team. Let's take a look at one of the things I'm missing already. I can see before we even go further is the strengths and concerns right back here. They have not filled that out. Bobby, why might that be a concern?
When I'm sorry, Sarah, you kind of broke up there.
Oh, sorry. I'm noticing there's a blank page right here, the inventory of existing strengths and concerns. They didn't fill it out. Sometimes people think, oh, that's okay, but it throws up a red flag for someone like me who might review this to kind of look at the strength of their strategic action plan. Why is it important to fill out that page?
We do have a comment in the chat.
Oh, so inventory needs to be filled out by, what is CAC?
Carrie, can you?
Community Advisory Committee?
Yes.
Okay.
It should be filled out with them, not by them necessarily, but it's really important not to be filling this out in a vacuum. You want to make sure you've got that support there. So let's take a look, and this is going to come out later. We're going to find out why it's important to fill out an inventory of your strengths and concerns before you really get started. So the vision statement here from Mystified Village is pretty strong. Let's see what it says. Mystified Village Native Connections program connects our local people, systems, and services together to form a safety net around our Native youth. Wow, that is powerful. How do you guys feel about that vision statement? It comes across strong. It delivers. It's short and sweet, but very strong. They follow it up with a supporting mission statement. They say, we leverage the strengths of partners from among a variety of sectors within our community by directly engaging them in their co-sponsorship of a year-long calendar of events. Wow. That provide a safe space for youth and families to enjoy time together in cultural activities. Boy, they knocked it right out of the park. They've got a vision statement supported by the mission statement. The vision statement is the why they're doing this program. The mission statement describes how they plan to do the work. Good job. They even included a problem statement. Looks like they conducted a survey of the youth from all corners of their village, and they understand now that the youth are bored. The youth have no safe place to be with other youth. They know alcohol and drugs are easy to get. The youth want more opportunities for meaningful connection to their culture, not just crafts. Well, that's clear. And finally, the youth want to see their parents get engaged in cultural activities and do more planned family activity events. So that clues us in that that's what I'm expecting to see as part of their strategic action plan, right? Kind of tips me off. Let's take a look at this next. Whoops. Right here, the community readiness model assessment tells us that they have scored, they have some 3s, and they've identified dimension D, community climate, and dimension E, community knowledge about the issue, as the focus areas that they want to focus on. And they're going to use those 2 dimensions to calibrate and choose the right goals for the years, I guess, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to get started. And let's take a look at what they have outlined for their year 2. Bobby, can you read these for me? The
Sure.
goals for year 2.
So the goal for year 2 is assess the community service systems, community readiness, and community resources, and develop a strategic action plan. And then improve capacity to offer case management and treatment services for youth aged 10 to 24. In increased suicide and substance misuse resiliency among the Native youth and community, and improve community expertise and community knowledge about suicide and substance misuse prevention, and then strengthen the agency's response to suicide prevention, intervention, and postvention needs among Native youth and community.
Wow, it looks good so far, doesn't it? It looks like they even included, they're focusing on those dimensions D and E as they should, based on the data that they collected with the CRM. Now let's see what they put together. Let's look at year 2, goal 1. So far, so good. For goal 1, they're assessing the community services system, the community readiness assessment, and develop a strategic action plan. Under their objectives on the left-hand side, they put down, this all makes sense. Complete a community systems analysis, great. They've got activities marked down to do all of that work. They've got a project coordinator and evaluator. They've got a date. They didn't put a budget in there. That would have been good to know, but that's okay. 2.1.2 on the left-hand side, conduct a readiness assessment using the community readiness model, CRM. Good, they've identified the people, they interview the people, they score. Great. And then finally, 2.1.3, develop and implement a strategic action plan. Great. Create goals and objectives, include required activities, and review the SAP with the GPO. And probably they should have maybe said the GTA too, I don't know. But does anybody see any red flags so far? Looks like a winning strategic action plan so far, doesn't it? Any red flags for anybody? No mention about engaging the families. Yeah, thanks, Steve.
Good eye, Steve.
And just because there might not be appear to be room, you can expand this template. The template's just a start. It's just a beginning. One of the things that comes up for me is it looks by the dates. Look at the dates: November, December, and January. So it just strikes me. So they're going to do all that work during the holiday season so quickly. Just a little red flag. Just kind of concerns me a little bit. Not a big one, but just, it kind of looks like a little difficult to do. Let's take a look at year 2, goal 2. And this is where things start to run off the rails. They want to improve the capacity to offer case management and treatment services for youth and increase suicide and substance misuse resiliency among the Native youth and community. That's wonderful. Their objectives to support this goal include recruit and provide case management and treatment services for 40 youth. That's good. They have a number. That's good. They want to host 12 events to improve outreach within the community. Great. They want to engage community in planning efforts. Lovely. And they want to meet with the SAMHSA GTA to plan for year 3. That's a nice ad. But what got me was I'm looking at the top of the goal where I've highlighted in yellow the word capacity. I don't know about you, but when somebody says capacity, what do you think about, Bobby?
I think about building. I think about what's surrounding outside of the organization, community.
And maybe training?
Training.
I'm not seeing any of that here. And Carrie says resources. I'm not seeing a whole lot of training here. And it looks like they're offering activities or hosting events. They're recruiting and to provide case management. Another thing that concerned me was on 2.2.3 under the activities to support that objective. They want to create an advisory council for guidance, a youth advisory council, which is wonderful, for guidance, feedback, and review of project efforts. That's not why you created an advisory youth council. You create a youth advisory council to help the youth. And if the youth want to give you feedback on the program, that's wonderful, but you don't start a youth advisory council to do what they're saying. It just struck me as very odd. And I thought I saw create a youth advisory council as an objective or even a goal to itself. So that kind of threw up a red flag. Also, I'm looking down at the objectives. They had great objectives. Outcomes. I'm looking at outcomes. They had great outcomes for the first year 2, goal 1. But outcomes for this year, what's going on with those? They want to provide case management and treatment services for 40 youth. That's not an outcome. An outcome is written like it's already happened in the past tense. So you look back at your objectives. For example, if you recruit and provide case management and treatment services for 40 youth, your outcome would be that you have provided case management and treatment for 40 youth. How did you track that? You tracked it. They tracked youth served quarterly by extracting the numbers served in the Mystified Village Center database. That's not very clear to me. I'm not getting a real sense of what the tracking is. What's the tracking tool? Tell me a little bit more about that database. Also, an outcome for objective 2.2.3, engage community in planning efforts at the bottom of the page. They threw in develop one youth advisory council. Again, there's a disconnect going on. So this is just where things start to go off the rails a little bit. It presents well. It's all filled out. The template's all filled out, but there's some dots that need to be connected. Let's take a look at the next.
Sarah,
Yes.
We have a question. And Carrie would like to go ahead. Carrie, ask your question.
Thanks, Carrie.
sorry. I was talking to Mitzi. So just a moment ago, back up in the upper section that highlighted create a youth advisory council for guidance, feedback, and review of project efforts. Sarah, you said that's not what youth advisory council's for. You kind of threw me off my balance. Like, what is that? So what is the youth advisory council for? Please.
Well, a youth advisory council is for the youth, and they can certainly be giving you feedback and guidance on your efforts. But are you going to really do a youth advisory group as an activity for engaging community and planning efforts? That's one slice of the community. One slice, and it's putting a lot on the youth advisory council. Does it seem, it doesn't seem very fair. It's a concern. They can do it and certainly move forward with it, but I think that needs to be fleshed out a little bit more. It throws up a red flag. Can they do it? Absolutely. Could they do better? Absolutely. Do you have any other suggestions, Carrie?
So I guess I'm just totally off. For some reason, I was eating my pozole.
No worries, no worries. We'll proceed, and you'll start to see things. Maybe
Okay, so
clear.
advisory council would be a youth advisory council would be. I know that in the past grants, SAMHSA grants, and when we had a youth council, they really helped inform as far as things that interest young people, like texting messages
Thank you.
and other items like that.
Yes.
So, so in a sense, they gave us guidance and
Yes.
feedback, and they helped us. They even helped look at our youth assessment, and they really questioned some of the questions we were asking, and asked us to rewrite them in a youth lingo so that youth would understand them. So I guess I'm hearing that creating a youth advisory council would not be an objective or an activity, but it's just something you do as part of the program.
Well, I would make it, and I would switch it. I wouldn't make it just an activity. I'd make it an actual objective for this goal. Move it up a little, move it to like 2.2.3, make it, instead of engage community in planning efforts.
Okay.
Engage community in planning efforts could be a goal unto itself. But when I look at the goal for year 2, goal 1, improve capacity, that's what throws me. Capacity doesn't always really answer it. Maybe that goal should be engaging community in planning efforts.
Okay.
Just trying to look for a little bit of connecting the dots. Let's take a look a little further.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Carrie.
All right, rounding it out with goal 3. In goal 3, they want to improve community expertise and community knowledge about suicide and substance misuse prevention. Great. For their first objective, they have complete training. Here's your training. Like, what happened? What happened to that back in capacity? I don't know, but here we go. We are completing training as for suicide prevention and intervention training. Wonderful. Native Connection staff will complete certified trainer QPR gatekeeper course. Wonderful. So they have 2 people doing that. They didn't put a budget in there. I found that a little odd. I mean, because usually you know how much a training will cost. So I thought that was interesting. But 2.3.2, they put in virtually the same language that's in their goal into the objective. How could they have made that a little stronger? Do you have any thoughts about that, Bobby, or anyone in the audience? They want to do virtual events. They want to post resources, and they want to add things to the website. So they are improving the community climate and knowledge about suicide, but they could have done a little bit better here. It feels like they copied and pasted, and it just feels like they could have. Yeah. Oh, Val wants me to zoom in on. Here, let me zoom in a little bit more. You guys see this a little bit more? Here we go.
Thank you.
Carrie, do you have a reaction to this? Carrie, you're on mute.
You're on mute, Carrie.
You guys didn't hear me?
I hear you now.
Couldn't read my lips. Well, I think I know. Just kidding. Sorry. For the training for the staff, seem like how in that area of how it would give back to the program, maybe as far as prevention for the youth. There's no dialogue on that. Maybe how it would be useful. Their training would be useful for the objectives of the youth prevention.
Exactly. Could this get by? Sure. Is it good? Not really. It can be better. We want to improve. We want to improve, make things strong. Looking down below that at the outcomes, complete suicide prevention and intervention training for X people. That you got to put a number in there. You got to estimate a number. Their measurement tools, sign-in sheets, that's fine. The next outcome, improve community climate and knowledge about suicide and substance misuse prevention. Write that as an outcome. An outcome is written in the past tense. If you did the objective, what's the outcome? The outcome would be that you have improved community climate and knowledge about suicide and substance misuse prevention. By what? By how much? By a lot? By 10%? By 2%? By 3 people? What's the outcome? Just restating the objective isn't the outcome. But they did track how many times suicide and substance misuse prevention resources were presented and to how many attendees. Did they do any feedback forms? Did they do any interviews with people? Did they get any volunteers out of this? What, asking the so what happened? This is important because you don't want to just do the work. You want to know what happened with the time and the effort that you put into this wonderful work that we're doing. So in the interest of time, I know we're running out of time here. I want to go ahead and wrap up this week or SAP, but already I'm going to turn this over to Bobby and ask you, look at year 2, goal 4. Let me zoom in a little bit. Got a lot going on here, but I don't know if there's a lot going on here. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Strengthen agencies'
Exactly.
response to suicide prevention. Okay. And the first objective is that they want to assess the current suicide and substance use prevention protocols. That's wonderful. So they want to assess the process and procedures. They want to coordinate with other youth serving agencies. Finally, now they're talking about the partnership that they talked about back with their vision statement. Now we're getting to something that's real, right? But I'm starting to get this feeling that things were just kind of copied and pasted. What youth serving agencies? They didn't include any names. They could put these names right here under lead responsible or involved parties. There's no budget put in there. Is anyone going to pay for a space for these people to meet? Are they creating any documents? Are they doing any protocols? Or what is there any cost involved in that? If not, just say it's zero cost or just through the grant. So there's a lot that is left to be desired here. Any thoughts on this, Bobby, before I move to the stronger SAP?
Not only that, I agree with what you were saying as far as like when we're creating the SAP and you're identifying agencies, it's always really good to be a little more detailed in listing the like what Sarah was talking about, listing those resources by name, and if you can put maybe a title like the project director of that certain program. It really helps because with a lot of our, just real quick, and with a lot of our, you can go to, as we're going, Sarah, with a lot of our programs, what sometimes happens is staff turnover happens. And so we want to be able to see that if a next team comes in and they see your strategic action plan, they're going to really understand and know what was happening. They're going to be able to see who was contacted. And so a lot of the information you put on your strategic action plan is important. And it's really good to get detailed information.
Yes, details. Just rounding out with the last, looking at their outcome again, restating the objective is not an outcome. If their objective 2.4.1 was to assess and revise the center's suicide and substance misuse prevention, intervention, and post-prevention protocols, what was the outcome? That these protocols were revised, and the measurement tool would be that they have actual protocols or a protocol draft approved or something of that matter. But they left that blank, so we don't know. It's a big question mark. So that kind of gives you a sense of, even though it looks great on paper, they filled in most of the blanks. It's really not what I would call a strong SAP. Now let's take a look at what I would consider to be a strong SAP. Now we're playing ball. Here's Strong River Tribes. They've got their team members. Let me see if I can scroll in a little bit on this. They've got 4 team members. They've got a director, a coordinator, a data manager, your evaluation person, I assume, and some volunteers. And they actually gave credit to their volunteers by naming them. Outstanding. I love volunteers. You never let a warm body go, guys. Look at their advisory board members. They've got Maybe Catching, B. Young, Jim Bird, Will Hunting, Lieutenant Harry Goodday from the police department, Judge E. Truthful from the River Courts. Someone from the assistant court clerk is there as well. And the middle school assistant principal, Emma Watcher. She showed up too. That's good. That means that we've got people from different sectors. This is good. They're showing some evidence that they've got different sectors represented on the advisory board. So that's wonderful. What's their vision statement say? Bobby, you read it for me?
I sure can. Vision statement is stating that our youth are strong and healthy, feel empowered and supported by the people, respect our traditions, and proudly contribute to the growth of Strong River Tribe.
Love it. Clear, short, pithy, powerful, strong. You get exactly where they're going with this vision statement, and they support it with a mission statement that tells us how they're going to do it. They're going to establish deep partners, not just partnerships, but deep partnerships, and coordinate with systems and programs like Strong River Public Schools. They actually name these people: the Tribal Police, the Boys and Girls Club, Unity, and others. They're to do what? To provide skill-based and culturally relevant activities and programming for the tribe's youth. Beautiful. It doesn't get better than that. Wow, their strengths and concerns, award-winning. Look at this. Their strengths: multiple federal and state funding grantees. Great. They have their tribal council is supported. Well, that's good to know. There's a student advisory council. Hey, great, wonderful. So they have that support. There's a suicide intervention protocol used in the school. The multiple suicide prevention programs were and have agreed to meet monthly. Wow, that is a strength, right? Boy, if you've got that already, write it down. Concerns: there's a turf issue. They mentioned that a couple of times. There's no centralized response protocol, so hopefully they'll work with that, right? So they have a good sense of their strengths and their concerns, and I would imagine that they employed the advisory board council to help them develop these. And that puts them in a real good place, along with the data here for their CRM scores, to choose the leadership or Dimension E, community knowledge, and then resources. And once they have all this data ready to go, then they are strongly supported in the development of their strategic action plan. Let's take a look. Wow. Can you guys see this very well, Bobby, or do I need to amplify?
You could probably get it a little larger, amplify it.
Amplify.
Amp it, Sarah.
I'm going to try what I could do without breaking the computer. All right, that's a little bit better.
Yeah.
Goals for year 3: they want to raise community awareness for suicide prevention through the development of a social media plan. Nice. And it shows that they are using the Dimension E from CRM as a guide. Second, they want to develop a cultural enrichment program and services for youth that will engage them in creating healthy relationships and developing a positive cultural self-identity to increase suicide and substance misuse resiliency. Wonderful. And revise current tribal suicide prevention policies and procedures. Nice. And it looks like they carry those goals, because those are really big goals, guys. And they're carrying those into years 4 and year 5. Carrie Dallas says, oh, Harry, a lot goes out to those who exceeded by yes. By them creating strong, better action plans, they have the greater capacity to serve their communities. Yes. Thank you. I mean, and a tip of the hat for anyone who goes through the development of a strategic action plan. It is not an easy goal. It comes across like, oh, we'll just fill in this template. It's not that easy. I wish it could be that easy, guys. And maybe someday we'll have a report where we can share all kinds of example goals and people can, choose and pick and choose what they want to put in there. But till then, you've got to actually work with people and convene people and talk and discuss. That's a lot of work. So let's take a look at a couple of these goals. Goal 1, Bobby, can you read it for me?
Sure. Raise awareness for suicide prevention through the development of a social media plan.
Outstanding. And they support that goal with 4 strong objectives. They want to use other community programs, Facebooks, to outreach to community members. What an idea. That makes sense. They want to continue use of 3 billboards to advertise the National Suicide Hotline number. Good. They want to update program brochure. Wonderful. They want to continue to develop a minimum of 4 media articles for radio and local newspaper. Something tells me these people have done this before. This is not their first rodeo, right? They've broken out each one of those objectives into some strong activities to break down that work. There's Jimmy's working really hard. Grace and Jimmy, they're doing a lot of work. They're doing this work quarterly. Okay, they've got 1 month in their March, quarterly, monthly. They've got a budget for some items, which tells me they thought it through. This is really good news. And I want to draw your attention. I'm so proud of Jimmy and Grace.
Hey, Sarah.
Yes.
Before you move on, Carrie has a question.
Carrie.
Yeah, we're right here at the stages, and right now with the
I'm not sure I understand.
Uh-oh.
Carrie.
It wasn't me, Carrie.
I
Sorry,
don't
Carrie.
understand. That's in the back of my head. That's my unconscious. Speak it out. Just kidding. Sorry, people. Right now with the community assessment, there's strategies that Native Connections has outlined to work with community PACs to fulfill some of the to help with the strategic action planning. So my question, I guess I'm trying to figure out, is if you could slide the slide down, these objectives or strategies that you have in the 3.1 with the media thing. I've read those items out of your manual for the CAT or this what is it?
Community Advisory Board.
The assessment, I read these in the levels when you get level 2. This is the strategies that they want you, that is outlined to do. Are those, or what we're seeing in this chart that's under the SMART objectives, are those items that I believe reading those in the level 2 strategies when I was reading the workbook on the assessments.
I'm trying to follow where you're going with that, Carrie. These are examples pulled from a group of different strategic action plans that I've looked at in the past. So this is an amalgamation that I've pulled together. But this is for year 3. This is for a group that's already sort of established. Okay. They've already done the year 1 goals that SAMHSA requires you to do, like setting the foundation for a strong partner, hiring staff, getting things set up. Now they've done year 2, and now they're into year 3. They're just planning for year 3. Does that help? Okay. All right. I just want to, before we move on, we're going to kind of zip through this because we're a little short on time, but I want to draw your attention to this team's amazing use of outcomes, how development of outcomes. Look at this. This is how an outcome is written, guys. Our program's Facebook, remember we talked about them using, one of their goals was to use, or their objective was to use other partners' Facebook pages to raise awareness. The outcome is our program's Facebook page raised suicide prevention awareness by 25% annually by listing the National Suicide Hotline. Outstanding. How do they measure this? By annually documenting number of posts and likes in response to our weekly awareness postings. The billboard on Highway 4, a major thoroughfare in our community, featured suicide prevention messaging, specifically the National Suicide Hotline, to over 500 people daily. Wow. Documenting the billboard company's estimation that 500 people daily traveling on Highway 4 will see the billboard. Now, this is how it's done, guys. Here's another outcome. Native Connection Suicide Prevention brochure was created for our local community and distributed to raise awareness of suicide prevention efforts. How do they measure that? Documentation of 200 brochures distributed to each community on the reservation quarterly. Finally, outcome. Suicide awareness was raised in our community through our messaging broadcast locally through radio, news, and newspaper quarterly. And they documented the scheduled release of live announcements and printed articles and acquired broadcast audience numbers from radio and news stations. There you go. That's very well done. Bobby, do you have any thoughts before I move on? Oh, okay.
Very good.
Bobby, okay, good. So, we just sort of touched on what you can do with the template that we gave you. You don't have to use the template, but if you do, you've seen examples of what is a weaker strategic action plan example using the template and a stronger example. Now we're going to move away from that into some tips that are things to think about when you're getting ready to develop your strategic action plan. One of those things is to think about the perception as you're beginning to develop your strategic action plan. What does that mean? Well, here's something, at the beginning of the year when you might have been thinking about a New Year's resolution to lose weight or to work out more or go for a walk every day or clean that closet you've been wanting to clean for like years. That would be me. But it seems like it's small, but when you think about a change on a larger scale, change can be scary to some of us, right? So make sure that you're sensitive to how others view your strategic action plan, especially if you wrote and started implementing the strategic action plan without their input. Think about that for a minute. For some, the SAP might be a challenge to the safe harbor of doing things the old way. And I think you know what I'm talking about. We always did things this way. What do you mean you want a youth advisory council? What's this? We never used to listen to youth, but we used to, but not anymore. But we don't do things like that. We do them this way. The exciting possibilities that you might embrace with your strategic action plan and you might think are wonderful might actually trigger somebody and get them to be, back on their heels. So one of the tips that we want to leave with you today is to think about how you can introduce the strategic action plan or change a little bit more thoughtfully. Bobby, did you have any thoughts about that?
No, Sarah, you covered it.
Any reaction? I know Carrie's like, yeah. Thumbs up. Any reactions to here? So we can use your reaction buttons. Thumbs down. Do they have a thumbs down one? Thumbs up. So that's a real important one, I think, perception about change. Bobby's got the next one.
Yes. Thank you, Sarah. We're going to kind of go around and look at awareness. Awareness is so important to sharing data back to your to the community is so important and vital to your programs. Whatever information or data that you collect, it's always real important and strongly encouraged that you take it back to your community and share with them what it is that what's happening with your program, and it helps to empower people to get involved with your program. It gets them excited. It gives them the knowledge to know that there's things that are happening in your area. Some ideas of awareness could be like running an awareness campaign to let people know that you're planning an exciting prevention program, and describe how everyone can get involved. Another one is hosting a fun brainstorming gathering that introduce the idea of the strategic action plan and capture suggestions in real time, like on a computer screen, and then project it on the side of a building so your whole community can see and watch as it's being developed. So there's a different fun and creative ways that you can get your community involved and to help to bring the awareness. And it's also important to really take the small steps. Don't take leaps and bounds at first, but sometimes the best are the small steps. And then what are the last dark bold sentence at the bottom is that what are some other ways to make your SAP everyone's baby? Because we want that's how we want you to kind of get your community to see your SAP as this little tiny baby that's going to eventually grow up to be this successful, outgoing, dynamic person. And so it's important to really help your community to see it, that it's just this tiny little spirit that's gonna blossom into something great.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry there, Bobby.
No kidding, Sarah.
If you have anyone's got some ideas on ways to make the SAP everyone's baby, go ahead and put that in the chat for us. Share your wisdom. Share your wisdom. Next tip, tune in. What does that mean? Tune in to the people. Is your strategic action plan in rhythm with the people? It's not hopefully wearing a tuxedo to the powwow. You want to make sure that you use the community readiness assessment to gather local data first. And this data helps you keep your finger on the pulse of the hearts and the minds of the people so that you can better tailor and calibrate the intensity of your goals and your objectives and your activities to meet the people where they are today. Not 2 years ago, not into the future too far, but today. That's why they want you to update that CRM every 18 months so it's not stale. So doing this before you put your pen to paper will save you a lot of frustration, and it will strengthen your strategic action plan. One of the tips that follows with this is that to remember that solutions live in the community. I've heard that so many times, but it makes so much sense. Look and listen and ask questions and trust the people's response. And remember that don't move forward without those CRA scores. Do you have those scores at hand? I have many of them taped around my computer here. So important to have those CRM models at hand.
Right.
Bobby?
Sure thing. So as we move around, we're going to look at resonate. We want to be able to connect our youth to cultural knowledge keepers. And we want to be able to connect those that have become associated from the tribe, maybe whether it be from like age or illness, incarceration, but we want to be able to bring resources to everybody in our community. We want to also be able to tap into those resources that we normally probably wouldn't look into reaching out for services or assistance with. So we want to find new ways to elevate and integrate Native teachings and cultural knowledges by just kind of tapping into a lot of those things that probably we wouldn't think about. One of those things could be such as, traditional practitioners in your local area. I think those can become those are very resourceful people and can be very integral in creating, bringing that culture to your community and to some of the events that you're doing. And then promote the use of native language daily, whether it's a little bit or whether it's someone who's very fluent. It's important to incorporate that. Brings a sense of community and a sense of belonging that starts to happen.
Thank you, Bobby. And if you guys have any other tips or tricks to add to the chat box, please do. Next, you want to make your strategic action plan readable. What does that mean? Please use just everyday active voice. You want to write your strategic action plan so that your grandma can and would read it, and maybe even see herself in it or ask you questions about it. Here's a weak use. Here's my idea of a weak. Some might see it as a strong goal, but I think it's a weak goal. Utilize that word. Utilize various local media outlets to broadcast program outreach messaging to targeted youth audience. What does that mean? It means this. Use local radio stations that youth love to spread news on program activities. Use local radio stations that youth love to spread news on program activities. So just switching from that kind of stiff language to just everyday language, what your grandma would use. Is your SAP easy to read? So if you have it ready to go, go back through it. Is it something your grandma or granddad would take a look at?
Yeah, I think that's so important, Sarah. Thank you for sharing. So important.
I love this one, Bobby.
The fun. Yes, yes.
Yay.
You know, always build fun into the into everything that you try to do with activities, but especially when you're developing your stuff. You know, there's a lot of different ways that you can incorporate fun and surprises to like a few of the objectives and activities that you're doing. Build in time to always build in time to celebrate your small wins. You know, we often kind of gauge our successes on how big our leaps and bounds were, when really there was probably a lot of several little wins in between those huge leaps and bounds that we never even looked at. So take time to celebrate those small wins. Find reasons to thank people publicly all the time. I know that that acknowledgement really does mean a lot.
Huge. Oh, it's huge.
And then ask youth the different kind of ways to bring fun into your activities is ask you to design and create certificates of appreciation to all the people who present, maybe who become speakers, or to organizations who become partners in the program. Or maybe even start an art mural project, inviting them all to join in and support your activity. So there's a lot of different ways you can incorporate fun, and where it doesn't always have to feel so serious all the time, because it's always important to have the fun part, make the laughs happen. So fun is always important.
Be the ambassador of fun, and people will want to be involved with your Native Connections program, right? Right, they'll remember you. Places to go to have a good time and get things done. Ownership, foster a sense of trust and ownership. And these all these tips start to blend together, and they work on and build on each other. Try to foster a sense of trust and ownership. And that's tricky because it requires a lot of good thinking and planning. Make sure that you build in time at your advisory board planning meetings, for example, for some icebreakers that help build an atmosphere of trust and safety. Why is this important? Well, trust speeds things up. And you might not believe that, but when you do have that trust, it makes things go faster. Oh, I'll just email you. No, I'll take care of it. I know what you're trying to tell me. Wow, you just saved an email. I mean, if people trust you, things go faster. Make strategic action planning or update meetings open and scheduled at a variety of different locations, so people who are on the advisory board don't have to, if they're on one side of the community, they don't always have to go to the other side to get to these meetings. And it opens the accessibility for people like your grandma who might not be able to get across town. Write people into the strategic action plan so they can see themselves in it. So what are some other ways that you could build trust to get people to get a sense of ownership in your strategic action plan? These are really important things to think about and discuss with your team. I love this one, Bobby.
Connect. We want to be able to connect the unconnected. We want to be able to bring youth, bring elders, bring everybody to the table and get them connected to what you're doing. Some creative ways of doing that would be maybe run an activity that challenges and empowers youth to connect with veterans or recently returning vets. That's a great way to bring the veterans to the table. Another idea is host a community-wide event or campaign to reconnect veterans to people or organizations within the community. There's so many different ways that we can bring those who don't have the seat at the table a seat at the table. It's so important to bring everybody to be a part of when you're creating your staff, to be part and let them have a voice in what we're doing. So we really encourage you to think outside the box and get creative. You know, how would you connect all these other resources or potential partners to your organization to help you with your program? You know, real important to get creative.
Thank you. Ask for help, guys. You know, I had a college advisor, gosh, too many decades ago who said, Sarah, no, don't be too proud to ask for help. I'm like, what, me? I can ask for help. She was right. Sometimes people are simply waiting for direction. They're waiting to be asked to help to do something. But the important thing is that approach is everything. How do you approach them? Well, you want to think about it carefully and be specific in your ask. Start small and see where it goes. And I start with what I call the would use. So you might start with a new person who comes to your meetings. Would you come to our planning meeting? You get them to come to the planning meeting. That's great. Would you share the meeting invite with some colleagues or neighbors? Great. Would you recommend an objective to help us reach our goal to increase partnerships? Well, I don't know, maybe. Would you join us to brainstorm a list of potential program partners? Okay. Would you consider leading a committee to support our goal on partnerships? Well, yeah. Draw them in. You know, start. It approaches everything. Be specific, but start small and see where it goes.
And then we want to be able to be focused and be strategic. If you're working on 2 large goals, maybe 3, it's important to know your limits. Set yourself up for success. You know, make sure that the goals that you're setting, you're doing, and the objectives that you have set, make sure they're going to be attainable, because we want to be able to have good, strong goals and objectives, but we also want there to be success. And building strong foundations before taking on some bigger goals or more goals is always key. You know, keep that in mind. Stay focused and detailed to that which you are being focused on, and keep it simple. You know, that's another thing. You know, keep it simple. Stay focused, stay tasked, but also just keep it simple.
What does it mean to be strategic? Here's some ideas. What is your strategy? Are you thinking about making sure that your goals focus on building relationships and partnerships during one particular year? Are you using years 4 and 5 to think about fundraising and sustaining your work? Are you going to expand the program reach? Maybe you're going to do this as a strategy across all the years that you're thinking about. Are you elevating culture and traditions? Are you getting tribal leadership support? Are you thinking about maybe focusing on activities that build upon Native arts, youth leadership, career skill building? What's your strategy? And start to use that as a theme, as a river that runs through your strategic action plan. Getting close to the end, guys. Most importantly, discover your why. The why is your vision statement. We talked about that at the very beginning. The why statement is the program's origin story. It directs the entire strategic action plan. You can't start a SAP without your go, which is the vision. So the vision answers the question, why did we start this program? Well, let's see, to connect our local people, systems, and services together so that we can form a safety net around Native youth. That's your vision statement right there. Keep it simple and clear, actionable, focused on affecting others, use positive language that resonates with the people around you. Most importantly, memorize that why statement. Keep it short so you can memorize it, so that whenever you get a tribal council member going up an escalator or in the elevator, you can just sell that whole thing. You already have it memorized. Really important. We're going to wrap up with this really important vision, this visual rather. An action plan we showed you, and you have probably seen the templates. But here's a symbol of what a strategic action plan looks like. Your vision is in the center of the bullseye. You're aiming for the why, that vision statement. Your goals and objectives describe the how you plan to get to the vision, and the activities are the what you do. People don't care so much about what you do, like the phone calls and the meetings, as they care about why you're doing it. So what does this look like? I took that strong action plan that we looked at about 40 minutes ago, and I put it into this visual. I put there a very strong and powerful vision statement at the center of that target, surrounded by the 3 strong goals that they had for year 3, surrounded by very clear and actionable activities that they have supported those objectives that support that vision statement. That's it, guys. That is the picture of a strategic action plan right there, very simply done. Here's an example of, we'll end with this. Take a look on the left-hand side. Bobby, can you read this very long vision statement and then read it how it's been edited?
Sure. Our vision for wellness is based on reconnection and
They big long words, right?
oh my goodness, it's right. Okay.
Reintegration.
Reintegration. Hold on, let me slide this over. Reintegration of our young people in our culture and community in ways that create healthy relationships to our past and for their present and future. In coming together around our youth in ways of our ancestors, we are strengthening our collective spirit in an effort to cast suicide and substance abuse out of our communities forever.
Sounds like a wonderful, wonderful vision statement that is really kind of tricky to read. Read the new one, though, revised, quick and pithy.
Sure, youth connect to culture and community through healthy relationships and come together in ways of our ancestors.
Just as powerful, strong, to the point, and she actually read it without stopping. So I think you see where we're trying to go with this. Keep it simple, guys. Keep it easy. Pat yourselves on the back for getting this far along. Thank you for all the work that you do. Thank you for joining us at this National Learning Community. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Valerie. Thank you, Carrie, and everybody else. Have a great afternoon. Oh, we
Thanks,
have a question.
everybody.
Did you say you're going to send these out, or are they on the resource page? PowerPoint.
This Prezi is recorded and it will be on the NCRC page very soon. Oh, thank you, Carrie. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Any other comments, questions before we sign off?
No, it doesn't look like nothing new.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Liza.
Thank you.